Here's a text message from one of you about our next guest. Arnold Bennett, this is Ann in Côte St. Luc writing this. Arnold Bennett is a valued resource. He was extremely helpful to my family years ago concerning a Yahoo landlord. A big thank you to him. And Ann is not alone in having relied on Arnold Bennett for housing support throughout the years. For over 50 years, in fact, Arnold Bennett has been an advocate for tenants' rights in Quebec. It all began with an article in the McGill Daily in 1969, later launching the Housing Hotline, a free phone service that has helped thousands of people navigate rental disputes. But now he's fighting to keep that service alive. As funding dries up, Bennett is calling for support to keep the hotline running. Let's go now to the one, the only, Arnold Bennett. Arnold, welcome back to the program.
Good morning.
So, I guess what kind of financial trouble is the housing hotline happening? Well, let's start there.
Well, it's self-funded, so I was running it off my private income, business income, whatever, for many years. At one point, I even had employees, but that stopped after COVID. And now basically, business has slowed down, and the amount of revenue that was coming in from that was hand to mouth.
Yeah.
So I decided if I want to keep this going and cover basic costs like a landline and cell phone and electricity and accounting and an assistant and whatever, I should go in to the public. And frankly, I was skeptical that people would really care that much, but the response has been surprising.
Well, listen, that doesn't surprise me at all because, Arnold, people love you and people view you as a resource to the community, particularly the English community. So I guess I should ask you this. It seems like you and what you've done in your mission would be prime for city officials to want to deliver you some funding, right? The city officials always talk such a great talk about supporting tenants. Why aren't you getting some government funding? It seems like you'd be perfect for some sort of resource there.
I did the government funding route in the early 90s for a few years. I found that there were too many hoops that you had to jump through, particularly if you hired people, they wanted you to turn it over, roll people over every few months. And that was not acceptable because essentially you lost your good people and you'd have to start with new people, and it just wasn't worth it. So I was able to fund it myself in small donations, and that's what I did for a very long time.
And Arnold, you have been at it for a very long time. I wonder, just based on, okay, there's funding issues and that, have you considered just saying, hey, it's retirement time now on this front?
I don't retire. They'll have to carry me out on a stretcher.
Okay, so Arnold, that's what I always thought, right? Like you come across as someone that's going to have that exact attitude. So let's talk about the challenges right now. What are you seeing? Speaking of why your services are so valuable, what are you seeing right now in the Montreal housing market?
Rent gouging, housing shortage, rent evictions, even though they're more illegal than they used to be. I just had a case that came in this morning that's horrendous. This is similar to one that we won back in the 1990s. Don't know what the tribunal thinks they're doing. Basically, somebody lived in a house where the landlord got repossessed by the bank. Mm-hmm. And normally the bank is not allowed to mess with the tenant. We established that jurisprudence at the higher courts back in the 1990s. For some reason, the rental board just came down with a decision saying that they had no jurisdiction, and because the bank went and sneaked around this to the Superior Court, the tenant didn't have any rights. This is being contested. I strongly recommended that they appeal it to the higher court. They certainly got the jurisprudence. Just because one joker at the tribunal screws it up doesn't mean it can't be overruled.
Jeez.
These are the type of things we run into.
And just on the rent gouging here, what are you seeing there? What kind of stories are you seeing from people that just can't find affordable rents?
Well, first of all, there's a huge shortage, so moving is not a good idea. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if landlords see somebody coming in off the street, they'll jump the rent very high compared to the previous tenant. And they'll even force people out through various means, legal and illegal, so that they can have a vacancy and charge a lot to the new tenant. Now, back the last cycle of housing shortage, I remember we were shocked when certain landlords tried to charge $100 and $200 increases. We're now seeing routinely doubling of rents or $500 or $600 increases without any justification.
Jeez. And they're getting away with it.
They get away with it if people don't know that they have rights. So a new tenant, for example, if they take action quickly enough, they can get a rent increase of that kind rolled back by the tribunal. Okay?
Yeah.
And obviously, the other problem is where people aren't leaving and where they're faced with the exorbitant rent increases the Quebec government allowed this year. That famous 6.9% indexation of net revenue, which is basically indexing the landlord's profit, even though in that particular year inflation was lower.
Yeah.
That was outrageous to the extent that there was so much blowback against the government. They've now announced that they're going to have a different system next year that doesn't index that profit, but what they're proposing isn't so good either.
With housing advocate Arnold Bennett. And just, Arnold, to that, it certainly seems like the housing minister has been very, very partial to landlords. I know there was a bill that was adopted. The number is escaping me that changed some things when it comes to renting in this province. Was there any good out of that? Has anything changed for the better?
There have been a few improvements, but there have been a lot of things that are not good. Like, remember the whole controversy about assignment of lease, where the landlord previously could not refuse assignment to transfer of a lease without a valid reason. Now they can refuse without any reason, and the only advantage for the tenant is the existing tenant, if the landlord does that, can break the lease automatically. So that's cool for the person who wants to leave. But if somebody wanted to be able to transfer their lease at the current rent to a friend or a relative, the landlord can block that under the new rules. And this also opens the door wide to racial discrimination, discrimination on social condition, all kinds of other things.
Arnold, having done this for so long, I know there's been tremendous support that you've received since the word got out that the housing hotline was at risk. Let's say, first off, how can someone contribute? If someone's listening here and they want to help you out, how can they ensure the future success of the housing hotline?
Apparently, it's very easy. You just go to GoFundMe in conjunction with Arnold Bennett. And you'll find it in 2 seconds. Okay, so
it's on GoFundMe, and if I search for Arnold Bennett, I'll find you. Let's say, based on the early returns here and how many people are supporting, where do you think you could end up going with the housing hotline? What's your ultimate goal here? Funding is secured.
We set an initial target very low of about $5,000. We raised that in 2 days.
Wow.
And we have substantially more already. And I'll tell you frankly, if this thing turns into what I'd like to see it turn into, no guarantee of that, but who knows, then we're not talking about just survival and covering expenses. We're talking about possibly being able to add new services and expand.
Well, Arnold,
and that is, I'm not going to go jumping the gun on that because, I've got a long way to go yet, but I have ambitions.
Well, Arnold, listen, just based on some reaction here on the text line, people do want to help you out and donate, getting notes from listeners here. So it's on GoFundMe, and do a search for Arnold Bennett and you can find that fund. Arnold, I think there's a tremendous need for your services, and I think you're going to find an awful lot of community support. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Well, I'm very grateful for the support we've been getting.
Arnold, take care. Thanks, and come back real soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
That's housing advocate Arnold Bennett from the Housing Hotline. Certainly appears that a lot of people value Arnold's work throughout the decades.